Hey, Olivia, whenever you're ready.
Oh, okay. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Board of Massage Therapy meeting today. It is March 4th, 2025. Are we playing the video?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Welcome to the Professional and Vocational Licensing Virtual Board Meeting. When the meeting begins momentarily, the chair will take a roll call, explain any specific rules for this particular board, and then move to public comment. The name of the board member will appear on the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. For instance, this is Board Member Y, and this is Board Member E. Public testimony will be accepted at the beginning of the meeting and before each agenda item. You can indicate that you are ready to testify by clicking on the Raise Hand button being circled by the mouse on your screen now. At the appropriate time, the board will recognize you to speak and ask you to unmute your mic as shown here. Again, public testimony will be accepted at the beginning of the meeting and before each agenda item. Public attendees will not be able to unmute their microphone until recognized by the board. Public attendees who are recognized to testify will be asked to identify themselves by name and their affiliated organization if applicable. Please mute your microphone when you are finished speaking as a courtesy to others and members of the board. Public attendees will not be able to unmute themselves after the testimony is completed unless recognized again after raising their hand. At some point during the meeting, the board may choose to move into executive session. When the board moves into executive session, the board members' microphones and video feeds will be turned off, and a similar screen as you see now will be displayed. When the board returns from executive session, their microphones will be turned on as well as their video cameras. Welcome again to the Professional and Vocational Licensing Virtual Board Meeting. At this time, the chair will call the meeting to order and take a roll call, as well as explain any additional rules that may be specific to this board. Welcome to.
Aloha, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to order. It is now 9:03 a.m. and calling into attendance Sean St. Louis,
Present.
Darcy Frankel,
Oh, yeah. Aloha, present and alone.
Thank you. And myself as well, alone in my kitchen. And then we have a new deputy attorney, Jordan Ching. Welcome. And our EO is Sheena Choi. Welcome to everybody. To view the meeting and provide live oral testimony, please use the link at the top of the agenda. You'll be asked to enter your name. The board requests that you enter your full name, but you may use a pseudonym or other identifier if you wish to remain anonymous. You'll also be asked for an email address, and you may fill in this field with any entry in an email format. Your microphone will be automatically muted. When the chairperson asks for public testimony, you may click the raise hand button found on your Zoom screen to indicate that you wish to testify about that agenda item. The chairperson will individually enable each testifier to unmute their microphone. When recognized by the chairperson, please unmute your microphone before speaking and mute your microphone after you're finished speaking. Upon request, your Zoom video or similar on-camera option will be enabled to allow you to be visible to the board members and other meeting participants while presenting oral testimony. Please turn off your camera after you conclude your testimony. It is the individual testifier's responsibility to ensure they have the video and internet capabilities to successfully stream or remotely testify. The board maintains the authority to remove and block individuals who willfully disrupt or compromise the conduct of this meeting. If you cannot get internet access, you may get audio-only access by calling the phone number listed at the top of the agenda. Upon dialing the number, you'll be prompted to enter the meeting ID, which is also listed at the top of the agenda. After entering the meeting ID, you'll be asked to either enter your panelist number or wait to be admitted into the meeting. You will not have a panelist number, so please wait until you're admitted into the meeting. When the chairperson asks for public testimony, you may indicate you want to testify by entering the asterisk and the number 9 on your phone's keypad. After entering the asterisk and the number 9, a voice prompt will let you know that the host of the meeting has been notified. When recognized by the chairperson, you may unmute yourself by pressing the asterisk and the number 6 on your phone. A voice prompt will let you know that you are unmuted. Once you are finished speaking, please enter the asterisk and the number 6 again to mute yourself. For both internet and phone access when testifying, you'll be asked to identify yourself and the organization, if any, that you represent. Each testifier will be limited to 5 minutes of testimony per agenda item. If our connection to the meeting is lost for more than 30 minutes, the meeting will be continued on a specified date and time, and this information will be provided on the board's website. Alrighty, moving on. Approval of the minutes of the November 13th public hearing and the January 14th, 2025 board meeting. Does anyone have any additions, revisions that need to be made on our January 14th meeting minutes? Is there public testimony on this agenda item?
At this time, there's no public testimony.
Thank you so much. Okay. November 13th. Any revisions or additions to the minutes of the public hearing on November 13th? Any testimony?
No, Chair, there's no testimony at this time.
Okay. If there are no revisions or additions, I move to approve the January 14th board meeting minutes and the November 13th public hearing minutes. Can I get a second, please?
I second that.
Thank you, Sean. All in favor, Sean?
Aye. In favor.
Yes. Darcy Frankel?
I'm in favor. I'll second it, third it.
Sean seconded. So now we're going for the vote, so. Is it
I'm
a
in
yes, Darcy?
Yeah, it's a yes.
Okay, and Olivia is a yes, so moved. Okay,
It's anonymous.
yes.
kidding.
We don't have anything to consider under. Yeah,
Did you want to move into executive session, Olivia, for the application section?
sure. Do we have any applicants attending?
None plan to join, but if you wanted to discuss their applications, we can move into exec session.
Sure. Okay, I move to go into executive session. I need a second, please.
Oh,
Also-
I second. Sorry, Darcy. Sean seconds.
Thank you, Sean. All in favor, Sean?
Yes.
Darcy?
Yes.
And Olivia is a yes. Okay,
Okay, so we're gonna move into executive session in accordance with HRS 92-5A1 and 92-5A4. The board will vote in open session.
great. Welcome back, everybody. Want to do a quick roll call. Sean,
Present.
okay, Darcy,
Here.
and Olivia is here. So agenda item number 3, A, I would like to approve, I move to approve the ratification list. Can I get a second, please?
Yes, I'll second that.
Thank you, Darcy. All in favor, Darcy?
Yes.
Sean?
You're muted,
Hear
Sean.
you.
There we are. I
Unmute.
couldn't find it. Sorry. Yes.
And Olivia is a yes. Item B, massage therapist applications. In the matter of Agnes Barber, I move to approve for examination. Can I get a second, please?
I'll second that, Darcy.
Thank you, Darcy. All in favor, Darcy,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes.
and Olivia is a yes. On the matter of Nestor Ruiz, I move to defer his application due to a shortage of 129 practical hours, which can be attained through an apprenticeship or a DOE-approved school, and that the board requests his attendance at the next board meeting. Can I get a second?
I second that.
Thank you, Sean. All in favor, Sean,
Yes.
Darcy,
Yes.
and Olivia is a yes. Okay, moving on to our illustrious executive officer.
You're
Sorry,
You need
you're
to
mute. You're
unmute, we
currently
can't
muted.
hear you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you, Olivia. Okay, so for 4A, Hawaii Massage Therapy State Examination Statistics, we just received the statistics for the January 2025 administration. So total exams administered 49, successful 16, unsuccessful 33. And I'll provide the next round of statistics at our next board meeting. And if you would like a copy of that, you can email me or the board.
Okay, great. I also want to add to this agenda item that we've been reviewing the exam, helping to increase the number of questions in the question bank for our state exam. Just to let everyone know, we started April 24th. And back then, we had, the way the exam is broken down, we have 10% in laws and rules. We have 50% of the questions in APK, 15% in theory, 25% in clinical. And back then, we only had 13 questions in the bank for laws and rules. We now have 30. Okay. In theory, excuse me, APK, we had 68. I forgot to add it up.
And
We had
Olivia,
68.
we
Yeah.
actually, we have to stick to the specific agenda item
Oh,
title. So I'll add for the next one for you guys to provide a PSI update. But yes, thank you so much to you and Sean for working with PSI on making our exam bank more robust. I think that's really good.
Okay.
Thank you.
all right.
Okay, so for 4B 2025 legislative session, bill discussion and updates. So the last time we had our meeting in January, the session was just starting. So now we're about at the halfway point. And last Friday was an important deadline for all the bills to determine which ones were likely or had the potential to cross. Exactly, Olivia. So bills are introduced in the House and the Senate. At this halfway point, the crossover is March 6th. Any bills that are still in play can cross over into the opposite chamber. So throughout the last few months, I've been looking at bills, and there were two that were related to to this board. So they were companion bills, which means they're the same text, but one version introduced in the House, one in the Senate. So one was SB 1373, and the companion in the House was HB 1054. And the title was Relating to Administrative Licensure Actions Against Sex Offenders. And I'll just briefly read the purpose. So the bill would authorize the Department of Commerce and Consumer Affairs, which is the department that the board falls under, and certain licensing boards to automatically revoke and refuse to renew, restore, or reinstate the professional licenses of registered sex offenders. So at this point, only SB 1373, the Senate version, has the potential to cross over on March 6th. And I just wanted to remind you guys that at your November 13, 2024 meeting, you appointed legislative liaisons. So you appointed Olivia and Sean as legislative liaisons. In the event that there was any bill action in between the board meetings, your legislative liaisons were authorized by the board to provide positions, testify with me, or otherwise comment or research on the bills. And so because there was movement for both of those bills between our board meetings, I did contact Olivia and Sean, and they provided the position that the board would be in support of the bills. So I did, in your board packet, give one example of a testimony that written testimony that we submitted on the board's behalf with those comments. So this same language was used for all the different committee hearings. And you can access the full text of the bill and all the testimonies on the bill webpage, but we just need to vote to essentially like ratify that support by the legislative liaisons.
Sure.
But I just wanted to give you an update on that, and then I'll be tracking it through the rest of the legislative session. So by our next meeting, we should have a pretty good idea of where the bill is at and if it's likely to get passed or not. But thank you to your legislative liaisons for providing that. Darcy, yeah, sorry.
I wasn't here at the last meeting, and I'm not sure about the different states and the breakdown of categories. Obviously, when someone hears the term sex offender, they're just like, we're appalled and we're scared for our children and we want to make sure everybody's okay. However, I wanted to comment, we have a family friend who in Hawaii, it's kind of a norm. He went to relieve himself outside on a private property. Somebody just, she-sheed in a bush. Somebody called the police, and he became a registered sex offender. So a lot of people aren't aware that there are different categories, and early on, I haven't studied this, but early on, I don't think there were any categories, yet there are other categories that have nothing to do with harming or touching another human being, such as a family friend. Yet they're labeled this, and it's atrocious, and it's you can't ever eliminate that from your name. You're scarred. And just to provide another perspective, of course, if anybody has ever touched or harmed another human being, I totally and completely support this. Yet I wanted to be that teeny little voice for that maybe 1% of the people who have this label, to look at the actually to add some kind of caveat to look at the categories, because I think that it's important to have that voice for humanity. So I just wanted to share that.
Yeah.
So my question is, to the average Joe, when they see or hear sex offender, okay, their reaction is going to be natural. And you can't deny them that.
No.
So it behooves them to research what level they're at. So what effect does that have on this? I'm just, thinking out loud. So what effect does that have on this, Darcy? I'm just curious. What was your intention? Nobody's going to research the different levels when they see that person is a sex offender. I can tell you that. Nobody's
Yeah.
gonna do that.
Yeah, so I agree, and I think that that was Darcy's point, and I see your point, Darcy. So I think that that's something that as the bill continues to move forward in the legislature, it is assigned to one of the committees that it's assigned to is the judiciary committees of the House and the Senate. So that would be on them to kind of investigate how exactly to word the language of this bill so that it does do what the bill intended to do. And I think the bill is intended for, to catch those egregious acts of, sex offender acts, et cetera.
Absolutely, yeah.
So yeah, I don't think that's necessarily something the board would comment on, but that is a good point. And then I did note in your testimony that the board's comments are just with regards to how it affects the revisions to your statute 452. So yeah.
Okie dokie.
So just a motion if you are in just to
Okay.
clarify that.
So as a board, we supported this legislative bill. All in favor? Oh, is that, I guess that's my motion.
Uh-huh.
Motion to approve this bill. Do I need to cite SB 1373?
Oh, yes, please.
Okay.
So yeah, the HB 1054 has died.
Okay, yeah.
Oh,
So I move to approve and support SB 1373. Can I get a second, please?
I second that.
Thank you, Sean. All in favor, Sean,
Yes, in favor.
Darcy,
I just want to make sure that we're not. I'm just not 100% sure about the vernacular here. And so what will happen, because I obviously want to protect people. And, I also don't want to continue to ostracize that one person. I know it sounds silly, but I don't want to ostracize that one person in, I don't know, maybe 10,000. So I'm not sure how to do that here.
So I think, where it says that the board will automatically revoke a license or deny, the purpose of this bill is to expedite the potential disciplinary action against a licensee because it already is a current process in place, right, to protect the public. It goes through RICO investigates, they can appeal the RICO findings, and then if everything is finished, it comes to the board. So my understanding, and maybe Jordan and Andrew can comment, is that while this would expedite the process, the licensee would still have the opportunity to appeal that decision, but in the meantime, their license would just be revoked or suspended. And then in the appeal process, while
They can
they're,
be heard.
yes.
They can be heard. Yes,
When the-
I totally support this. Yes.
Okay, great. Is that how you guys read it?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
So we have anonymous support finally.
and Olivia is a yes. So yes.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. It's always good to discuss.
Yeah,
Sure.
well, that's a good point you're raising, Darcy. Of course.
And if it was your, family friend, it would,
Hopefully they don't do that in public.
like I said, it was on private property.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
So then
Okay.
back to you, Olivia, for agenda item 5.
Mhm.
And I can provide a little bit of background for this one, if
Okay.
that's okay.
Sure.
So I just added this to the agenda. I'm just requesting clarification how the board is allowing applicants for both the massage apprentice permit and the MAT license to make up or remediate education and training hours that they're currently short. And so I think it's maybe clear in your laws and rules, but I would suggest maybe we move into exec session just to discuss with Jordan if there's any other legal considerations for allowing this.
Okay,
Sure.
no problem. I move to go into executive session.
I second that.
Thank you, Sean. All in favor, Sean,
Yes.
Darcy, and Olivia is a yes.
Okay. Moving into exec session. Thank you.
Thank you.
We gotta unmute ourselves.
Yes. Okay, we're back in open session. Thank you. Just to summarize, in executive session, the board consulted with its attorney regarding the board's powers, duties, privileges, immunities, and liabilities as it relates to options for applicants to remediate education and training shortages. Thank you, and I think we can move on to the next agenda item, Olivia.
Great, thank you. So our ongoing business is to work to revise our Hawaii Administrative Rules, Title 16, Chapter 84. And from our July 2024 meeting, I did assign subchapters to different board members. So I'm just gonna go from the top. So subchapter 1, I did inform Sheena that I am going to pen that subchapter and circle back after revisions for the other subchapters are received. And then Jace is not here. Subchapter 3, anything, Darcy?
Yeah, I do. Let me open my notes.
So
Okay.
subchapter 3 was on principal massage therapist.
Yeah. Let me open. So
And
let's
you're
see.
using
My-
the public
oops.
hearing copy that we have from the July or
Yes,
November meeting, right? Okay.
yes, I believe so.
Yes, and that's the one, the Word doc I dropped into OneDrive for everyone.
Yes.
Okay. So my sentiments are to, well, let me just go over it. Here it says requirements for principal massage therapist shall be responsible for maintaining a file at the office of the board containing the names, addresses, my sense as I really dropped into this is it seems like the principal massage therapist has a type of liability of that the establishment should have, in my humble opinion, since I was asked. So according to the current rules, it seems like the liability of the establishment lays firmly on the shoulders of one PMT. Hold on. I'm getting a low battery here. PMTs are unfairly bear liability for issues outside their direct control. The suggested changes would prevent the PMTs from being held responsible for issues like sponsoring apprentices and staff gross misconduct unless they are explicitly involved. So my proposed change for this first one, A, says requirements for establishment shall be responsible for maintaining a file.
Wait, can you read it as it's written and tell us what your changes are? So that we can follow.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, requires,
where is that?
so this is A,
Okay,
requirements for principal massage therapist. I'm crossing out principal massage therapist and saying establishment. The establishment shall be responsible for maintaining a file at the office of the board containing the names, addresses of the massage establishment. And we've been, and then the names, et cetera, et cetera. And then again, the establishment shall notify the board in writing of all changes in address, in personal massage therapists and apprentices. And I'm suggesting a little bit longer than 48 hours. I'm suggesting 15 days or annual reports. Upon acceptance of an apprentice, the sponsoring massage therapist, not the principal massage therapist, shall fill in the space allotted for the action on the back of the apprentice permit. The establishment, again, shall notify the board of any action within the required time. So the rationale here, again, is it seems to me like liability is egregious on the PMTs, and shifting detailed reporting duties to the establishment and allowing establishments to submit annual reports. So that's my suggestion for A. And then B,
Can we discuss that a bit?
yes,
Okay, so when you say establishment, who?
well, who gets the establishment license?
It's generally the owner, and a lot
Right.
of times, 9 times out of 10, so is the principal. It's the same person.
That's not necessarily the case. That's true
Well,
for
now with the new companies, yeah,
and
it's,
also in
it-
any spa that would not be the case.
mm.
Yeah.
Which we have quite a few in the state.
So who, I mean, how can you identify?
I think it would have to be if you're shifting the responsibility to the MAE license holder, it would have to be the owner of the MAE, which may be the principal massage therapist or maybe just an individual. So that would be the way to word it. And then I would suggest if you do want to make these changes, that instead of revising 168411, that it move to subchapter 4, 168415, and you just add that onto the requirements for MAEs. Would be my suggestion.
I agree.
Does that work for you, Darcy? Does that shift the responsibility adequately?
I would need to see it in print. But again, at the end of this, we could go through this and I can submit this. I just didn't finish crossing all the Ts and dotting the Is, but again, I could go through this orally. I'd like to move to B.
Yeah, I think that's good. And then Darcy, afterwards, if you can just send me like the points that you want changed, and then I
Yeah.
can work on formatting it and I'll send it out.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So B, instead of, again, the principal massage therapist, it says the establishment shall be responsible for the conduct of all massage therapists, apprentices, and other persons affiliated or connected with the massage therapist while those persons are within the premises of the massage establishment.
You said
So-
massage therapist? Connect
Yes.
with the massage therapist?
Yeah, that's right. She's talking about the PT has so this is perfect because I worked in spas a lot of my career. The way it is right now, sorry to jump in, but the way it is right now, if something happens with one of the MTs, the PT has liability and responsibility, even though clearly, let's say it was a couple's massage and they weren't even working that day.
Mhm.
It falls on them. And
So, but the verbiage she read was massage therapist, while those persons are within the premises, so.
yeah,
I
that's what that's
clarified.
the point. So if something happens with one of the MTs in the business, the
on the
premise,
whole present, yes. Thank you, Sean.
the PT has the liability, has the responsibility.
Yeah, so again,
PT over the other MT.
right. And I'm saying that there's a theme of this in subchapter 3 that I just think is like egregious. Because the primary therapist is responsible unduly and bears liability for issues outside their direct control. So just listen, and then we can, split the hairs and do, vernacular. I wrote in here. So again, B, if you're following along, it said the principal massage therapist, I crossed that out. The establishment shall be responsible for the conduct of all massage therapists. Basically, the establishment should be responsible for the theme here is anybody on the premises. I believe that should fall.
Can you read that whole paragraph again
Yes.
as you revise it?
The
I'm
principal,
just trying to follow.
yes. So instead of principal
Just read
massage
it,
therapist, So if you're looking at B, what
I
you do
am.
in your mind is cross out principal massage therapist and just put establishment there.
I am doing all of that, Darcy, but what I heard was different. So can you just reread it again?
Well, if you're looking at it, all I did was trade establishment for principal massage therapist.
So in the 1, 2, 3, fourth line, you also put massage therapist instead of massage establishment. Is that right?
No, I
That's what
just,
you said. Massage therapist. That's why I'm questioning, because what you said, I'm following along. So in the 1, 2, 3, fourth statement, you read connected with the massage therapist. So is that correct,
excuse
or
me,
is it?
connected with the massage establishment.
Okay,
That was my mistake. So really all, again,
that's fine. I got it.
okay, so that's B. Again, the rationale is shared responsibilities for PMTs, those. So, so then going down to D,
C,
I don't
any
have,
change on C?
let's see, shared responsibility. No, I don't.
Okay.
No. No change on C.
Okay.
So then D, new vernacular. The licensed massage establishment shall maintain policies and procedures to prevent any and all sexual touch / conduct. The PMT and other LMTs shall report any observed or known violations to the establishment manager or appropriate authorities immediately. Next sentence, the take out,
Still under D? Are you still under D?
yeah.
Okay.
Next sentence, the take out principal massage therapist and put establishment. The establishment shall be responsible for all. I'm crossing out lascivious conduct and lewdness and including any inappropriate act or sexual act conducted by any person in the massage establishment. My rationale is expecting PMTs to enforce all aspect of conduct, even in behind closed doors, places an unreasonable liability and burden on them. I also want to clarify the language because lascivious and lewdness is frankly, it's kind of a little tactless, but being a little clearer, like inappropriate or sexual act, I believe are more contemporary and understandable terms.
Yeah, Darcy, that's good, and I understand that. I think I'm just gonna make a note and for everyone to know, because no one's assigned to subchapter 5 currently, which is on revocation. So I think whatever we change the language to there should align with at least 8, which is participating or using the establishment for any lascivious conduct, lewdness, or any sexual act. So we'll just make sure to align it with where you can take disciplinary action. So I'll just make that note.
Yes, thank you so much. And then any comments, questions, or concerns on that one before we go to
Can-
E?
Can you read it again?
D, the licensed massage establishment shall maintain policies and procedures to prevent any and all, and I put the explicit words sexual touch / conduct. Then the period, new sentence, the PMT and other LMTs shall report any observed or known violations to the establishment management or appropriate authorities immediately. Period. the cross out principal massage therapist, add establishment, shall be responsible for all cross out lascivious and lewdness.
Are you repeating it?
Didn't you ask me to read it again?
Yeah, you started reading it. You're reading it again, right? Because I'm writing down what you're saying. So it sounds like you're saying the same thing again.
No, she's still following it.
Oh, okay. So it's another sentence. Okay.
So after appropriate authorities immediately, there's a period. And then it says the new sentence, principal massage therapist is crossed out. And it says establishment shall be responsible for all. And then cross out lascivious and lewdness. Any inappropriate act or sexual act conducted by any person in the massage establishment, period.
Sorry, Darcy, how about you not use the word act twice, but use behavior in the second time? So it says
Or manner.
sexual act or sexual behavior. Would that be okay?
Yeah, I'm not attached to it. Let me just change it.
Because it's a little bit saying
It's
the same
redundant.
thing.
Yeah.
And also it is gray, like sexual behavior would be, I think, more
Okay.
encompassing.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that could qualify as that.
Well, I mean, do we,
That way we cover them better.
yeah. This is where, I mean, Sheena guys, DAG guys, do we say like genitals out, you know?
No, we don't have to go.
Oh, yeah, no, I don't think we need to
Like
get
have to
so
say something like
specific.
that? I
No,
kinda-
no, but I think maybe we can just continue discussing like I understand your general idea. So
Yeah.
for this section, you want to place the responsibility on the massage establishment versus the PMT. So I can work with you to make those appropriate changes. And then for this one, I understand that you want to make it more, update the language and make it more broadly encompassing to inappropriate behavior in the MAE. So we can work on the language for that. And then once we have the language written, we'll distribute it and then we can discuss what it looks like and everything.
Okay, so should we go to E?
Yep.
Okay, so again, crossing out principal massage therapist here. So it says the sponsoring massage therapist and establishment shall ensure that every apprentice wears a conspicuously placed, everything else is the same. My rationale here is it's a little too much oversight for the PMT again. It's more appropriate for the sponsoring therapist to be responsible because they directly oversee the apprentice the day-to-day activities and training anyway, and can ensure the compliance. Does that make sense? Is that agreeable?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, F, moving on. So here, and we're crossing out principal massage therapist again and adding sponsoring massage therapist, which can be the PMT, but just for clarity. And that's the only thing that's changed in F. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. G, crossing out PMT again and adding establishment or front desk staff of the establishment. Everything else is the same. Because,
Could I hear the rest of that sentence? Do you mind to read it to
Yeah,
me? I don't have it in front of me.
yeah, shall notify all customers when they are to be massaged by an apprentice.
So read it in its,
Yeah, the
Totality.
establishment or
And-
front desks, what? Did you need to say something?
no, just read it how you have it. So the establishment shall notify all customers when they're
And
massaged by.
Well, I said the establishment or front desk staff of the establishment shall notify
Yes.
all customers when they are to be massaged by an apprentice. And the rationale here is, reception or front desk staff typically handle client communication. It's just a more practical approach.
So my question, just for discussion after hearing the changes, I understand, Darcy, where you're talking about where the principal massage therapist seems to have, bear too much liability for things that should be on the MAE. I guess my question is just, what is the role of the principal massage therapist? Because I'm trying to figure out why, the board originally promulgated these specific rules for PMTs. So, my understanding is that the PMT is kind of like the supervisor on site at the MAE. So for me, I can kind of understand where the PMT has to bear the responsibility because the owner of the MAE isn't necessarily always going to be on premise, whereas the PMT is required to be on premise at all times. So that's why I see where maybe the original logic for this whole section was the PMT is kind of standing in as the MAE's representative because since they're required to be on premise at all times of massage activity, then they're the ones who are aware of the massage activity that's going on. And while the MAE, as the owner, should be, knowledgeable and bear responsibility. And I think that your statute and laws and rules does give the authority for the MAE and the PMT to be disciplined jointly. I'm just trying to make sure that if you make the changes, that it's not the way the changes are made still covers the original intent of the existing language. So I'm not sure what the history is of this, so I just wanted to ask, like, what is the role of the PMT?
Well, I'm gonna get to that in a moment, I think. I don't want to, if anybody had questions or comments, but I will, my next point summarizes everything.
Mhm.
Should I read that?
Yeah, and I'm not saying yes or no either way, Darcy. I'm just trying to understand like what the original rationale was for the existing
Yeah.
language.
The hard
Yeah.
part, Sheena, is that this was done in 1960s and created in the 70s before I got into the profession. So it's really hard to say what the intention was then, but they did, I know from talking to the Lomi practitioners, it was to make sure that someone oversaw the activity there and that they were aware and responsible for the conduct, because they had to be there at all times anyway. So they were, how should I say, they were relegated to know what was going on and be able to handle any situation. That's my understanding from old timers that I've talked to. So
Okay, I'm just trying to understand because when we do propose the changes, we have to be able to justify all the changes that are made. So I just want to make sure when I provide your justification that we have everything covered. So that's why the question.
No, it makes sense. It definitely makes sense. And what I get from this is, especially on Oahu, there's a lot of untoward activity in establishments. And we don't see that here on Kauai as much, but I think in past eras past, I think it's someone, my feeling of it is like someone needs to be culpable for this. And I just think it's too much on the PMT for, this liability. If something untoward is happening, the owner, the establishment really should know. But so I'll finish and we could circle back. I'm not attached, but I definitely, I was asked, so.
Yeah.
So the general recommendations for subchapter 3, in summary, my recommendation is to reduce administrative burden on the PMD, to redistribute administrative and operational tasks to where it should go appropriately, to the licensed establishment owner, to the sponsoring therapist, and the front desk staff, reducing the PMT's role to training and acting as a liaison with the establishment in determining the appropriateness of massage techniques and boundaries, supervising massage therapy practices, ensuring professional standards, and overseeing apprentices' technical skill development if they're directly involved with that. And I have a couple of other suggestions for subchapter 3 to clarify appropriate liability, the professional conduct, to limit the, so let's see, the current situation is the PMTs unfairly bear liability issues for issues outside their direct control. My proposed changes are to limit the PMT's liability to their professional conduct, and situations they directly supervise, if they supervise apprenticeships and whatnot. And this would prevent them from being held responsible for issues that should, like facility maintenance or staff misconduct, unless they are explicitly involved. And my second suggestion is to encourage multi-PMT models. The current situation seems to me like it's a little unclear how many PMTs are to be designated for an establishment. Kind of seems like one. But the proposed changes to clarify, encourage, and allow establishments to designate multiple PMTs.
But I don't think our law limits that now anyway, so I do see, and I designate a couple of PMTs at my office because I'm not always there.
Yeah.
So I know that there's nothing in our law that limits us to just naming one person as a PMT.
But it is implied in the language.
Yeah.
People-
If I could step in and comment, I don't want to
Yes.
interrupt what you're
No,
saying. but
no, that's.
To
we're
go
just-
back to your first question, Sheena. So, and again, not to make this a long story, but when I started my career in 2002 in the spas on the Big Island, like some of my colleagues were either former graduates of Lynn School, like myself, or Auntie Margaret students from the past. So some of the old timers like Olivia is talking about. And so I came in after changes had been made, the resorts had been built, spas started being built, et cetera, et cetera. But I worked alongside people from a previous time. So I felt immediately when I got hired and saw the PMT situation that it was extremely antiquated. In fact, to the actual point that in all my career, I refused to accept offered positions of PMT, which would have been very advantageous to me personally because it would have put me in the top of the order for booking as a male therapist. But I was always very, very reluctant to have that liability that Darcy's talking about. I never saw anything happen in my career. So I think it's rare. But then I was on the Big Island, not here on Oahu where I am now, as she's pointing out, where there's a lot of untoward things that are going on. However, in practical responsibility and application, PMTs are not on property all the time. They cannot be. They're a human being and they can't work every shift of every day. It's really an antiquated policy that the principal therapist in the business has a role of running the schedule, hiring the people, managing the supplies, and therefore as their reward, they're given priority booking. But and that gives them some kind of more oversight of who everybody is because they were more involved in the hiring process. But also, I have my own business. As a business owner, I would say I completely agree with where Darcy's coming from in that the business has the liability and the business has the responsibility. And it doesn't have to be specifically, in my opinion anyway, designated who that person is. So for example, let's say I worked at Monolani Spa. Well, the hotel owned the spa, but they contracted it to Sylvia Seppielli, blah, 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 blah. But there was a spa director. That's on whose shoulders all of that weight landed, if or until perhaps something really terrible like this language is indicating happened, then the liability starts to fall back onto Monolani Resort. But that means they are themselves always, as it is their business, having the responsibility. It is true that the PMT, when they are working, is a little bit more on the front lines, but I just think that it's an antiquated, very, very antiquated system. And try to remember this. I've mentioned this before about Lynn. When Lynn started her school in the 80s, you couldn't even have a massage school in Hawaii. We didn't even have them. We only had Lomi apprenticeships. So it was just the industry trying to kind of correlate and correspond with what was going on. I believe that PMT nomenclature happened, but obviously we need to take care for this. This is something, you know, we need to protect the public, so this has to be there. But does that give any sort of clear picture, like why they would have had one?
Yeah, that's actually really helpful because what I'm trying to figure out basically is this an outdated section that just needs to be updated?
Yes.
Or was there a health, safety, and welfare component to it we need to make sure we carry on to any, you know, future revision? So that's just what I was trying to figure out. So it's helpful to know, you know, it has changed. The landscape of massage therapy has changed quite a bit. And so certain parts of this might be outdated and needing updates like Darcy's suggesting. And yeah, so I just want us to be conscious, any health, safety, and welfare concerns that are covered by this section currently, that we make sure to integrate them when we make changes.
Sure, absolutely. And if you think of it, really, the way it is right now, in a sense, almost gives the corporation or the over owner some immunity and escapability. So if something were to happen in an establishment, if we follow this to the T, it's the PMT who's going to have a problem, and they literally could be a person who wasn't even present when the transgression happened, and then here we come in to enforce the safety of the public and the laws. In a way, I'm not sure, Jason probably could answer this better, but isn't the establishment almost immune, whereas the PMT is liable if it really comes down to it? And we don't want that. That's
They're
completely
jointly
inappropriate.
responsible, actually.
Yeah, I think they're jointly responsible currently, but I see where, you know, the MAE, we want to make sure the MAE bears full responsibility for the activities that are going on in their establishment. So that's good. I know I'm just looking at the time, and I know that we've been going for 2 hours. So I wonder if maybe Darcy, for your edits for subchapter 4, if you want to email those to me with chapter 3 and I can prepare them for the next meeting. And then I know, Olivia, you had some, so maybe we can just take one of the subchapters.
Sure.
And I know Shannon submitted hers as well, but it's probably best if we discuss it when she's able to be on the call.
Yeah.
So maybe, can we do that? Is that
Sure.
okay?
Yep.
We
So-
can, and I have some good ones too.
We don't have time, Darcy. We're gonna have to move on because
Which I totally trust Darcy.
Oh,
and you
no,
can
I'll
just
email. I just wanted to say that I initially, like, at first I had a little resistance, but then when I really dove into it, I was like, oh, then there's this and there's that. And then
it gets fun, just thinking through all the policy implications and things.
Yeah.
Okay, but thank you for the subchapter 3 ones. I'll work with you on email about like the specific language and crossing out and everything.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
So let's take a look at subchapter 6 for apprentices. And in the past, the education requirement for apprentices were pretty detailed, but the school students were not. So what I did was I actually worked to mirror the two as much as possible. And I see one of my typo errors. So this was done on a notebook while I was traveling from train to train, so I did my best. So if you look at subchapter 6 that I submitted, and I think I submitted this like when I was jet lagged in Paris, so forgive me. So the changes, we talked about increasing the education requirement to 625, and the rationale behind how I calculated those numbers. Okay, basically what I did was I took a look at the top 4 states what their education requirements were, and that was looking at New York. Oregon has New York and Alabama. Alabama 650, New York 1,000, Nebraska 1,000, Massachusetts 650, and Oregon 625. So I looked at all of those and came out with a percentage that I thought aligned with the ELAP research that was done back in 2014, where I was part of the discussion where we came up with the 625. So that's the basis for my rationale on the numbers that I calculated. So as far as the 625 hours, we're thinking of increasing. The way I broke it down was, where's my rating? Okay. So I pretty much looked at allocating 11% to anatomy physiology, 12% to kinesiology, pathology and contraindications, 14%.
Where does it, sorry, where does it say these percentages?
I calculated them.
Oh, so,
I took the hours from those states,
yeah,
broke it down, calculated their percentages, and I took an average.
so you didn't provide the percentages in your report, because I'm like, wait, where's the,
No, I'm just providing the rationale,
oh, great.
how I calculated it. We okay?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So pathology, contraindications, 14%, benefits, physiological effects, 15%, client assessment, treatment plans, 17%, ethics and laws, 16%, and professional practice, 15%. So when I broke down the 625 hours, that's how I came up with this proposal. So 1684-23A, I read apprenticeship program shall consist of not less than, cross out 570, and include 625 hours, and the applicant shall successfully complete a cardiopulmonary resuscitation training program. The first, cross out 1, insert 200, cross out 50, that's where my calculation was off. Cross out 50 hours, shall be academic and shall not have a time period and shall be completed before the practical training. So let me read that statement again. It will read, the first 200 hours shall be academic and shall not have a time period and shall be completed before the practical training. The course of study shall be listed in subsections I1 and 2. Hold on. Yeah, because that was the academic portion. Okay. Item B, the applicant, I don't have any changes on that. The applicant shall submit an application for apprenticeship training to the board with the certificates of completion of all required courses as listed in subsection I1 and 2. C, no change to that as well. D, it reads the remaining 420, add the 5 hours shall constitute the beginning of the practical phase of the apprenticeship program. I'll read that statement again in its totality. The remaining 425 hours shall constitute the beginning of the practical phase of the apprenticeship program. A permit shall be issued upon verification of the application for apprenticeship training. So there's the 200 and the 425, making 625.
Okay.
So E, no change to E, no change to F, no change to G, H, no change, I. The academic course of study shall, cross out as follows, be not less than 200 hours of anatomy, physiology, and structural kinesiology, and shall include 1, not less than, cross out 50, insert 100 hours, cross out of anatomy, physiology, structural kinesiology, insert to cover the function and structure of systems, repair and injury of tissues. Item 2, not less than 100 hours, cross out theory and demonstration of massage, which shall include insert structural kinesiology, including characteristics and components of musculature, joint structure, and function. And I changed item 2, I think that was a 2, to small letter J. In addition to the academic course of study, the applicant shall submit not less than 165 hours of theory and demonstration of, this is the insertion, sorry. Insert not less than 165 hours of theory and demonstration of massage, which shall include, cross out the whole A and add in 1, insert overview of massage modalities, cross out B, insert number 2, benefits of soft tissue manipulation for specific client populations, cross out C, insert 3, psychological aspects and benefits of touch, cross out D, insert 4, soft tissue techniques, cross out E, insert 5, benefits and physiological effects of soft tissue manipulation. Cross out F, insert 6, hygiene and contraindications of massage for specific techniques according to conditions. Cross out G, insert 7, draping, and cross out H, insert 8, assessment of the client's condition and the general technique to be applied.
I have a question.
Yep. Go ahead.
So what's I'm just maybe playing devil's advocate here. What's the difference between physiological aspect and benefits of touch? So number 3, and benefits and physiological effects of soft tissue manipulation. Isn't that saying almost the same thing? Very closely the same thing? Or-
Psychological and physiological are two different terms. Psychological can include emotional.
Oh, I was reading physiological under both. Okay.
Physiological is the body.
Yeah, I know the distinction. I was reading physiological under
I think
both.
you have a typo. I think you meant,
Okay.
I think you mean
Psychological.
E to be physiological, not psychological. Is that correct?
No, no,
Olivia?
3
No,
says,
no, I
3
do want it,
says,
I
it's
do want
correct.
it to mean.
I thought they both said
Psychological.
I thought they both said physiological.
Well, they both say psychological.
No,
No.
1 says psychological, 3 says psychological, and 5 says physiological.
Yeah, no, it's right.
I must be on the wrong
Oh.
page here.
Physiological can include emotional well-being. Physiological is the anatomical body.
You know, I do understand the difference between the words. I'm looking at maybe the wrong page.
Yeah,
It's the
Because I,
second page of my.
is this subchapter 12 or
Subchapter 6.
it's the same thing under subchapter 12. That's what I put there too, because it says psychological and psychological. There is a typo on subchapter 12, but I'm
Yeah,
sure we'll
sorry.
get to
Yeah.
that.
That's where I am too.
That's fine.
Okay, I apologize. Trying to get back to that now.
Are we okay? So I'm going to read the last paragraph under 168423. The requirements of subsection I, 1 and 2, and J, small letter J, inserted, shall be taught by a school which is licensed by the State Department of Education, the University of Hawaii, or other institutions approved by the board. The course is outlined in subsection I1 and 2 and J. Maybe we don't have to put and, we can delete one of the ands. May be obtained through workshops given by a massage therapist who has been licensed in the state of Hawaii. That's an insert. For at least 3 years and who has received approval from the board. So I wanna stop here for a moment. I put in the qualifier for someone to be licensed in the state of Hawaii at least 3 years. Reason being that if someone is going to teach someone new in this profession, they need to know our laws. So in the past, that qualifier was not in there. And I know that other schools across the country add education hours for the laws specific to their jurisdiction. We, as a state of Hawaii, require a jurisprudence test. That's why in the past, we have not complied to any of the national standard tests. Just the background. Continuing on.
Our hours weren't matching either in the past.
Yeah, true,
We were pretty low compared to the national standard in the deeper past.
true. Well, there's a lot of states that actually require 500 hours. So we're kind of in the middle.
Yeah.
I mean, well, the national used to be 1,000 hours, and we ended that.
750. I think 750, and they dropped it to 700 in 2016 or 2017.
Yeah, I'm thinking back in it. Sorry.
Okay.
Um, so your point about saying in the state of Hawaii for at least 3 years, that's been in there. That's not something you just added.
In the
right?
state of, this is with the revision.
Sorry, Darcy, that's me. I was trying to communicate Olivia's changes, and I think I missed that part to underline and put it in red. So that's not in there currently.
It's not currently in our rules, Darcy. I added it in.
Okay, so just, are you saying that you think it takes 3 years to learn the laws?
No, that's what our law is now. I'm just qualifying that they need to be licensed in Hawaii rather than licensed in New York and teach Hawaii students.
Oh. So in other places, it says that someone who wants to teach a workshop needs to have a license for 3 years, or to have a school needs to be
Talking
licensed.
about Hawaii? You talking about Hawaii?
Yeah, yeah,
It's in our law, it's 3 years.
yeah.
I'm just qualifying that their 3-year license must be in the state of Hawaii. That's it.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay. Okay, moving on. Nothing
The
to see.
request for such an approval shall include, I think, insert the, subject to be taught, when, where, by whom, and the duration of the workshop. The request for a workshop shall be submitted to the board for approval, not less than 60 days. Everything else is the same,
Yeah,
okay? And then small letter J, delete and insert, oh, sorry, back up 3 lines above. All courses that are completed as outlined in subsection I1 and 2 and J inserted shall be properly certified, and a certificate of successful completion shall be issued by the school or an approved massage workshop. Delete small letter J, insert small letter K. The course of study for the 6 months of apprenticeship training program with a minimum of, cross out 420, insert 260 hours is as follows. 1, clinical operations, cross out 70, insert 60 hours. I had to double check my addition on this. A, sorry?
No, sorry, there's background noise from the hallway.
Oh, okay. Um, capital letter A, sanitation, i.e. applications of Department of Health regulations, linen towels, cross out 30, insert 15 hours. B, office procedures, i.e. answering phone, taking appointments, client report, cross out 30, insert 15 hours. And C, record keeping, A, B, C, yeah. C, record keeping, client records, 10 hours, no change. Number 2, advanced techniques, cross out 40, insert 20 hours. A, observations of classroom instructors, cross out 20, insert 10. And consulting, cross out 20, insert 10. Number 3, hands-on supervised massage with record keeping, cross out 3, insert 200, cross out 10 hours.
Can we put a pin in that and you
Sure.
talk to us about your thoughts, your thinking behind the changes that you made?
Sure. So, hold on, let me pull up my notes. So, again, as a basis, I looked at the education requirements across several states.
Mm-hmm.
I broke down their hours. I took the percentages to their total, got an average. The averages that I calculated to apply to our 625 hours is what I stated before. So AP, 11%, 11% of 625 is 71. Kinesiology, 12% was the average. 12% of 625 is 75 hours, and so on and so forth. So that's how I broke it down. Pathology, contraindications, 14%. 14% of 625 is 87. Benefits, physiological effects, 15%. 15% of 625 is 93. Client assessment and treatment plan, 17%. 17% of 625 is 106. Ethics and laws, 16%. 16% of 625 is 100. Professional practice, 15%. 15% of 625 is 93. So those are the hours I broke down in the different categories, and then I just grouped them together. And that's how I got these numbers. I may have fudged the numbers just to round it off rather than say, you know, we need 146 hours. I think I upped that to 160 or something. Because I think it's really important that AP, pathology, kinesiology, and contraindications, they should know that before coming into this profession. So instead of 146, I just rounded it up to 160, just so that it's a clean number.
So seeing your bigger picture here, I mean, I know we're on the same page with the overall goal, raising the hours. I see hours cut a lot. This last section, every section, the hours get cut, but that is to accommodate. I must have not seen it correctly. Did you add?
Accommodate the increased hours in APK.
That's what I was thinking, right? But how many hours did you add to APK to make that work?
So right now we require 50 hours. Right now, as the law stands, I increased it to 100,
Okay.
which a lot of the states and even the national standard, it's 125 or more.
Right. Yeah. I was hoping it would be more, but yeah, I was just trying to.
We can increase it. I mean, we can just shift some of the theory into APK, but I think what I've found really how should I say, successful in my teaching over the past 17 years is I teach APK in the morning and hands-on in the afternoon to repeat that lesson. And I found that to be very, very effective. I would say that, you know, of my students that graduated, more than 86% passed their licensing exam. So I know that that formula works. So
Sure. What do you think about your record keeping and hands-on supervised record keeping? So you brought the hands-on supervising, record keeping down to 200 from 300. What do you think about
Not
combining?
200
You did
keeping?
hands-on supervised massage with
Oh,
record
yeah,
keeping
for total.
is down to 200 from 300.
Yeah.
What do you think about taking the record keeping category by itself at 10 hours and just eliminating it and combining it with section 3 so it gets a little more hours?
Sure, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. Record keeping is a benign thing, so I left it. I tried not to make, I mean, my overall intention was not to overhaul the whole thing and to try and keep some, but I can make changes to that. I don't have a problem with that.
I mean,
Okay.
what are you doing, just to clarify, how many hours is your record keeping? Are you
Right
thinking?
now it's 10. It's still standing at 10.
At 10. So like,
So
no,
we can delete that and add it on to hands-on supervised massage with record keeping and change that to 210 hours. I think that's what I had initially and then I crossed it out. I must have been
Or
sleeping
or not
deprived.
even maybe put it in there, give that 10 hours back to somewhere else, maybe even.
We can
I don't
put
know. I
it,
don't want to get into the nuts and bolts of your thinking. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I just
Hey.
wanted to ask.
no, that's good. Record keeping is a little redundant. It says hands-on supervised massage with record keeping on number 3, so
That's
record
enough hours.
keeping.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
fine.
what
Okay,
if you just make
don't
the
have a
hands-on
problem.
supervised 200?
No,
and
it is 200 right now. So we can cross out C and add the 10 to hands-on supervised under 3 and make that 210, which was my original intention, I think, and I was sleep deprived. Is that
Yeah,
okay?
it's okay. Or even maybe somewhere else. I don't know. I guess
I think just keeping them separate is good, like your first suggestion. It makes it clearer. So for the boards who have to see our, they're like, well, how much was supervised and how much was record keeping? Having hands-on, hands-on supervised massage 200 hours, record keeping 10, completely separate.
Okay. I'm okay with that. Sean?
Yeah, well, I guess we're coming at it from different angles here, and I don't want to get
Different
mired
angle.
down on this. All right, my overriding angle is I want more hours, even more than Olivia's suggesting. I want 800 hours, but I realize that I have to take what I can get. And I like
Oh.
what Olivia's, and we don't have to start that conversation again. It's okay. But I'm on Olivia's side, absolutely, generally. No, I am on your side. I see some things cut that I still don't like to be cut, is what
I
I'm
know.
saying. So that's where I'm coming from. So that's why I was trying to capture 10 hours and not give it back to itself, but put it
Sure.
somewhere else is what I meant more.
Where-
Darcy was
where
where
would
I was
you-
coming from.
Where would you want to put it? Because I've already increased APK. I've already
Right.
increased theory. So when
I
you,
think like things like advanced techniques got halved.
Yeah.
That makes me sad. I wish
Okay.
it didn't get cut at all. So I would put it there maybe.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I would try to get advanced techniques back up to as much as you can. I mean, I would even give it more if I could, but
Well, you have to also look at it from the standpoint of a layman, Sean. You cannot put too much undue requirement on a layman for advanced techniques. Inherent in the modalities that they teach, they will go over that, right? When you have Asian modalities, you're gonna go over the concept and everything, right?
I get
Whatever.
what you're saying conceptually, but the hours were already there, and I think we were already lacking by comparison to where we could have been, just period, generally speaking. It's just not,
Okay.
it's not an area where I would wish to take it out. And I do see where you're coming from. I'm not in disagreement with what you're saying.
Mm.
But especially the more hands-on, the more education stuff, and then the more hands-on and application of education hands-on, that's where I would always wish for us to increase, if as much as we possibly are going to be able to. Does that make sense?
Yes, I see what you're saying. And when I looked at the other states, their hours were we're spot on.
Yeah, I
For,
mean, it's all relative, right? Well,
yeah,
that's true unless you're looking at New York because they're dealing with
yeah.
1,000 hours. So they've got to
Sure,
have,
New York has 325, but they've got almost 300 hours more than we do. So yes, their
right. But
AP neurology, 200, myology, kinesiology, 150, general pathology, 100. Do you know that in APK, that's 450 hours that they're requiring?
well, exactly. And so if you I mean, this is just an anecdotal comment. This is
Sure,
not trying to force the
sure.
narrative here, but the result of
Mm,
that is when they come out of school,
mm,
that's the education that they've had. So that's
mhm.
like the difference between, going to maybe like Johns Hopkins Medical School versus, not that we are like going to medical school somewhere in Guam or something. I'm not saying that, but I'm
Uh-huh.
just saying by comparison, you get what you get. And, it's hard, it's a lot. But I'm a person who experienced that. I had the 1250 hours from Lynn's school and she squeezed as much as she could in. Like
Sure.
it can be done.
Well,
And
she was following a lot of Canadian standards. So I get that. I've studied Australia's requirements, Canadians' requirements, UK's requirements, because I was working on moving our diploma program to an associate degree. So I'm well aware of what you're
yeah,
saying.
yeah. And I'm
And
just
I
using it as a
understand that.
reference, not saying it's the only thing, right? Yeah. And also I came into the business with a partner who did it back in the 90s and from New Mexico, and we did 1,000 hours there. So
Sure, sure.
for national. So I mean, it's all relative is what I
Mm,
want to say. I get if you're raising it from a lower amount, and then you have to think about how everybody's doing. But I just want to advocate for New York's been doing this for a really, really long time.
But they
And
did that from the get-go.
yes, it doesn't matter
So,
when they started
right,
it. I'm saying though, they've successfully done it for decades. So
sure,
I'm just saying they're a demonstration that it can
sure,
be done. Like it can
sure,
be done and it works. And
sure,
that's my argument for let's not take away, I wish, not take away
sure.
any education hours, any practical application of education hours, because we do know that it can be done because we see it elsewhere.
Sure.
That's what I'm saying. And I think it fits our cultural model anyway. I mean, come on, if this was ancient Hawaii, you didn't go out and get massage license in a year. You spent your
Yes,
whole life training with your
yes, I
your
hear
elder,
you.
right?
But I also looked at it from a practical standpoint, okay? It will be quite a bit of undue hardship to the existing schools if we go more than this. I think this is in a modular sense, when I look at lesson plans, it's not, it is a jump, but it's not a humongous leap.
Yeah.
Is what I'm looking at. Because we want to make sure that, if we do implement this, if we raise it to a lot more than what I would like, really, a lot of the schools would not meet the requirements.
So I just
So,
want to jump
so
in
what
on,
I,
yeah. Oh, sorry,
yeah,
Olivia, if I can just jump in on your point. When we do the next round of rules revisions, in addition to, allowing the public an opportunity to comment, the rules goes twice before the small business regulatory, I always forget, boards something.
SBBBR.
Yeah, some long acronym. Anyways, the board has to be able to justify the impact that the rules, if any, will have on small businesses. So, that also includes the massage schools. And I think it'll be good as, when we get more concrete on where you guys want to land with all the changes that we engage stakeholders from the schools and things too, so that the word gets out. So it's not just a total change and a shock, and that all the stakeholders are on as informed and on board or can provide input as they can be.
Mhm.
With that point, I know that we're at 11:30 now, and so I wonder if maybe we can put a pin in where we're at now, and since you guys have gotten a feel of some of Darcy and Olivia's suggestions, maybe just continue to look over what was provided, and I'll email out Darcy's as well. And then we can be prepared to discuss further at the next board meeting, just to be
Okay.
mindful of everyone's time.
But can we just agree before we move on, the 10 hours in record keeping, should we keep it there and change hands-on supervised massage and delete with record keeping?
Yeah, that's what I
Or
think.
do you want to add the 10 hours to hands-on supervised massage with record keeping and cross out C, record keeping?
Or I
thought
thought we
we
had a
were-
third option to add it to a different, to the, where you have the
Advanced.
advanced techniques to
okay.
bring that up to
Sure.
30 from
Okay.
20.
So which,
That's,
what do you
that's
want?
Sean's vote is that. I'm not saying I'm the only person, but that's
Okay.
Sean's vote.
So
I
keep,
think I
keep
agree with
C.
you.
keep C, record keeping, advanced techniques goes up to 30. And then number 3, hands-on supervised massage, cross out record keeping. I need a quick 2-minute bathroom break.
I actually think, Darcy, we can just end here. So
Yeah.
I think to correct your recap, that we're removing C, record keeping, and we're putting those 10 hours to 2 advanced techniques to bring it up to 30 hours. And then we'll keep B3, or sorry, 3 the same, hands-on supervised massage with record keeping, because that keeps the hands-on supervised massage and the record keeping component. So I think that's
Okay.
where you guys had landed.
That's fine.
Is that right? Because I'll make that revision for you. But we
Thank
can
you.
always go back to it as well.
I'm okay with that.
I was thinking, because so we sometimes don't know how much is the hands-on record keeping, supervised massage, and how, my point was, how long is the hands-on supervised massage? My suggestion was have that be standalone, because we didn't know how many hours was the actual record keeping. My suggestion was separate the two.
I
Yeah, but
think
then we don't have
record
any
keeping is
extra
such a
hours.
nominal amount of hours that it can get swallowed into the hands-on. So,
So I'll make the change, but Darcy, I'll put a note with the next draft of it, so that when we bring Jace and Shannon into the discussion, that can be a consideration as well.
Yeah.
Because we'll have to review the changes with them anyways, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
because that's a practical, my rationale here is that that's a practical situation. And, you know, let's say they go to another state and they're
Mhm.
like, well, how much was the actual record keeping and how much was the hands-on practical? You know, we're always asking for the breakdown. So I'm saying,
they
let's
don't
Mhm.
generally ask for record keeping. I can tell you that now. I reviewed at least 12 states. They don't ask for record keeping. It's part of their clinical internship or externship, which includes record keeping. Because it's a nominal amount, they don't isolate the hours. I can tell you that.
We can just keep it for ongoing discussion though, just for the sake of
Okay.
time. So
Sure.
I'll have both points represented in the next draft, but if there's nothing else, Olivia, did you want to adjourn?
No, yeah, go ahead. I'm not gonna do anything to chapter 12 until we finish 6 then, because I'm gonna reflect a lot of the changes into 12.
That makes sense.
Okay, cool. Thank you,
Okay.
everybody.
Thank you,
It's
Olivia, for your work, and
7:36,
Darcy,
and
and Sheena.
we
and Jason.
are adjourned.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, see you guys on May 6th.
Yes, sounds good.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.